Love requires intentional pursuit, not passive proximity. That truth is both a challenge and an invitation. You can be near something and still not truly engage with it. Just like someone can be in a relationship and still feel alone, you can be surrounded by spiritual things and still not be pursuing love with your whole heart. Being around the things that once stirred your soul is not the same as chasing after the one who stirred it. Proximity gives the illusion of connection, but it's pursuit that proves it. In the beginning you chased. You prayed with fire, worshipped with freedom, and sought presence like it was your lifeline. You didn't need reminders or rewards. You pursued out of passion, not obligation. You carved out space, not because you had to, but because you wanted to. You weren't just in the room, you were present. You weren't just near, you were close. You didn't just know the words, you lived them. That pursuit was real, it had weight. It changed the atmosphere of your heart, but time has a way of softening the sharpness of our hunger. Life gets crowded, responsibilities grow, pain piles up, and slowly we trade passion for proximity. We stay close enough to still feel like we're in it, but far enough that our love doesn't cost us any more. We show up, but we're not all in. We participate, but we don't press in. We say the right things, but the fire's missing. That's not pursuit. That's comfort masquerading as connection. Intentional pursuit means choosing love daily. It means showing up when it's inconvenient. It means fighting distractions that pull your attention away. It's not waiting to feel inspired. It's choosing discipline that fuels devotion. Real pursuit is when you open your heart even when it's tired, when you lean in even when you're hurt, when you offer up your soul even when you don't have the words. It's when you stop measuring how much you're giving and just start giving your whole self again. You can't coast in love, not the kind that lasts, not the kind that transforms. Love that grows is love that's chased, and chasing requires motion. You've got to run after presence, even when your legs feel heavy. You've got to build altars in your everyday life, little sacred spaces where your heart can still cry out, even in the chaos. And that's where pursuit lives, not just in grand gestures, but in small, consistent surrender. Maybe you've been near for too long. Maybe you've grown used to the sound of love without letting it speak into your life. Maybe you've been trying to survive on memories of intimacy instead of creating new moments of connection. But love, real love, doesn't live in yesterday. It's alive right now, and it's asking for more than your nearness. It's asking for your pursuit. You've got to ask yourself, when was the last time you truly chased? When was the last time you sought out stillness just to be present, not to ask for anything, not to check a box, just to love, just to pour out, just to get back to that place where your love was loud in your silence, deep in your breath, bold in your obedience? That kind of love isn't accidental, it's chosen, and the beauty is it's not too late. The pursuit can start again, right here, right now. First love is marked by purity, surrender, and passion. It's that moment when your heart opens in a way it never has before, all unguarded and wide open. There's nothing calculated about it. Nothing forced, nothing filtered. It's just pure, and in that purity there's power, not the kind of power that comes from performance or perfection, but the kind that flows from authenticity, from truth, from that deep part of you that isn't trying to impress anyone, just trying to be close. When love is new, it's full of wonder. Every word feels alive. Every moment feels sacred. There's this urgency to give all of yourself, not because you have to, but because you want to. You surrender without hesitation. You let go of your image, your need to control, your timeline, your pride. You say, here I am. I don't have much, but whatever I have, it's yours. That's the sound of first love, unfiltered surrender. It's when your heart kneels before your ego ever could. It's when your yes is loud, even if your understanding is quiet. That kind of love doesn't care who's watching. It doesn't wait for the perfect setting. It doesn't need lights, music, or validation. It just needs space, because passion doesn't need prompting. It just needs permission. First love burns. It breaks you open in the best way. It ruins you for the ordinary. It wrecks your plans and rebuilds your priorities. It calls you out of your comfort and into something deeper, something sacred, something that demands your whole heart. But what happens when the newness fades? What happens when that fire starts to flicker? Too often, we try to recreate the feeling instead of returning to the posture. We chase moments instead of pursuing the one we loved in the first place. We think if we can just feel like we did back then, everything will be okay. But it's not about recapturing a feeling. It's about recovering your heart. It's about remembering that purity wasn't about perfection. It was about alignment. That surrender wasn't about weakness. It was about trust. That passion wasn't about noise. It was about depth. First love is honest. It says, I'm broken, but I'm still yours. It doesn't hide behind theology or image. It shows up real, shows up empty, shows up open. It understands that love isn't about looking the part. It's about being present, being available, being willing to be changed. And here's the thing. First love doesn't have to stay in the past. It's not just something that happened at the beginning of your journey. It's something you can return to every day. It's a choice, a reminder, a heartbeat. You can live from that place of purity again. You can surrender again. You can let the fire rise again. It won't look exactly the same, but it can be just as real, just as powerful, just as transformative. So don't settle for a memory of love when you can walk in the movement of love. Don't accept a dull heart when yours was made to burn. First love isn't gone. It's just waiting to be chosen again, waiting for you to come back to the place where it wasn't about what you knew, but about how deeply you believed. Where it wasn't about what you did, but how fully you surrendered. Where it wasn't about being seen, but simply being close, because that kind of love never really leaves. It waits for your return. Distractions and disappointments can dim devotion. Not always in a loud, obvious way, but slowly, subtly, until you look up and realize your heart isn't burning like it used to. At first, it's just a little shift in focus, a few skipped moments of silence, a few prayers delayed, a few worship songs that used to make you cry now barely stir your spirit. It's easy to miss because life doesn't always pull you away all at once. It drifts you. Distractions are sneaky. They don't come with alarms. They look like responsibilities. They wear the clothes of good intentions. They hide in busyness, in routine, in the pace of life that tells you to keep going, keep producing, keep achieving. And before you know it, the time you used to spend in stillness gets filled with noise. The hunger that used to drive you to quiet places gets silenced by schedules and survival. It's not that you stopped loving. You just stopped noticing you were drifting. Then come the disappointments, the things you prayed for that didn't happen, the doors that stayed closed, the people who left, the wounds that lingered longer than expected. These moments don't just touch your circumstances, they touch your heart. They make you question, make you doubt, make you guard parts of yourself that used to be wide open. Disappointments whisper, why keep giving your all when it hurts this much? And if you're not careful, those whispers become walls. What once felt like surrender starts to feel like foolishness. What once made you weep now makes you numb. That's the slow dimming of devotion. Not because you stopped believing, but because pain taught you to protect instead of pour. You learned to cope instead of connect. You learned to manage instead of move with boldness, but you were never meant to carry love behind a wall. You were never meant to offer guarded affection. Real devotion is vulnerable. It's costly. It says, even when I don't understand, I'm still here. But distractions will tell you there's something more urgent, and disappointments will tell you it's safer to hold back. Together, they become a dangerous combination. A love that looks alive on the outside but is slowly dying inside. And here's the truth. It's okay to acknowledge that you're there, that the flame has flickered, that the passion has faded, that the intimacy feels distant, because you can't heal what you pretend doesn't hurt. You can't rekindle what you refuse to admit is dim, but once you do admit it, once you speak it, there's hope. Because even a dim flame can be fanned again, even a drifting heart can return, even devotion that's been distracted or disappointed can find its way back to depth. But it takes intentional realignment. It takes deciding that the noise won't have your attention and the pain won't have your surrender. It takes choosing presence over performance, trust over fear, and pursuit over passivity. You have to clear space again. Not just in your schedule, but in your soul. Make room to feel again. Make room to cry again. Make room to hear again, because devotion isn't just an act. It's a posture, it's a rhythm, and it can be restored. Don't be afraid of where you are right now. Distraction and disappointment are part of the journey, but they don't have to define it. Let them become reminders, not roadblocks. Let them push you back into the arms of love, not away from them. You can burn again, you can believe again, you can return. Mature love still burns with awe and reverence. It doesn't lose its depth with time in. Instead, it deepens through the storms, the silence, and the seasons that test its strength. When love is new, it's loud and expressive. It's full of passion that pours out with ease. But there's something about a love that has been through fire and still stands. A love that's been disappointed but still chooses to show up. That kind of love is steady. That kind of love is sacred. Awe is not reserved for the beginning. It's something you carry with you if you're willing to remember why you fell in love in the first place. And reverence, that's not just emotion. It's posture. It's the way you approach with honor, not familiarity. It's knowing you have access, but still choosing to bow. Mature love knows how to blend intimacy with honor. It doesn't get casual with the sacred. It doesn't treat what's holy like it's ordinary. It still trembles, even if it no longer screams. Time has a way of making us forget. We get used to the blessings. We get accustomed to grace. We start to treat miracles like routines. And if we're not careful, what once made us weep becomes something we walk past. But maturity isn't about becoming numb, it's about becoming more aware. It's about letting your experiences open your eyes wider, not close them. It's choosing to stay in awe even after you've seen behind the curtain, even after you've seen the cost. There's a danger in growing so familiar with something divine that we stop treating it like it's sacred. But mature love says, I've been here for a while and I'm still amazed. It says, I've seen the highs and the lows and I still bow low. It's not just about what you feel, it's about how you respond. Reverence is response. It's how you carry your heart, how you protect your fire, how you make space for wonder even when the world tries to steal it. This kind of love doesn't need the spotlight. It doesn't need the crowd. It thrives in quiet places. It's the kind of love that wakes you up in the morning with gratitude instead of complaints. The kind that makes you say thank you before you say help. The kind that lifts your eyes when your heart is heavy. Because even in the wait, you remember the worth. Mature love still cries, still surrenders, still gets down on its knees, not because it has to, but because it wants to, because it's tasted too much, seen too much, been through too much to ever go back to casual. That kind of love doesn't settle for surface. It keeps digging, keeps searching, keeps longing, not out of emptiness, but out of fullness. Because when you've truly loved deeply, you realize there's always more to discover. More depth, more grace, more wonder. There is beauty in a love that has scars but still chooses softness, in a love that has faced silence but still listens for whispers, in a love that's been tested and doesn't just survive, it thrives. That's what awe looks like when it matures. It's not always loud, but it's always real. It's not always emotional, but it's always reverent. So many are chasing the feeling of fire, but mature love knows how to protect the flame. It doesn't let distraction steal its devotion. It doesn't let distance harden its heart. It keeps choosing the altar, keeps choosing presence, keeps choosing wonder, because even after all this time, it's still amazed. Returning to love begins with honesty and vulnerability. It doesn't start with pretending everything is fine or trying to recreate what once was. It starts with owning where you are, without filters, without fear. You don't need the perfect words or the right emotions. You just need the courage to say, this is where I am, I've drifted, I've gotten distracted, I've grown numb, but I don't want to stay here. That kind of honesty is sacred. That kind of honesty is healing. So many people are walking around carrying silence in their souls, afraid to admit that the fire has faded, afraid to say they feel disconnected. They wear the face of devotion, but are quietly suffocating inside. And the longer you pretend, the harder it becomes to return, because love doesn't live in performance. It lives in truth, and the truth is, you don't have to have it all together to come back. You just have to be real. Vulnerability is what cracks the walls around your heart. It's what opens the door again. It's what makes room for intimacy to breathe. You don't rebuild love by hiding. You rebuild it by showing up raw. Saying, I miss what we had. I miss how I used to feel. I miss who I was when I was closer. That confession isn't weakness. It's strength. It's strength to be seen, strength to be searched, strength to be changed. Returning isn't about recreating a moment. It's about reigniting a connection. It's about remembering why you loved in the first place and letting that memory pull you back. Back to the place where your heart was open and your hands were lifted. Back to the posture that said, even if I lose everything, I still want you. Because when you return to love, you return to surrender. You return to that place where presence was your priority. Not your plans, not your image, not your comfort. And here's the beautiful part. Love doesn't shame you for leaving. It welcomes you when you come back. It doesn't ask why you stayed away so long. It just pulls you close the moment you turn around. That's the power of love that's not based on performance. It's not keeping score. It's not looking for perfection. It's looking for your heart, not the polished version, not the strong version, just the real one. So if you feel distant, don't wait for the feeling to come back. Let the honesty come first. Let the tears fall if they need to. Let the silence speak if it must. Love can handle your questions. It can handle your doubts. It can handle your wounds. It just can't do anything with your silence. That's why vulnerability is the beginning. That's why confession is a door. When you come back honestly, love meets you there. Every time, it's okay to come back slowly. You don't have to rush. You don't have to shout. Just start with a whisper. Just start with a moment. Return with your eyes closed and your hands trembling. Return with your doubts and your weariness. Return even if your fire is barely flickering, because love has never required perfection. It's only ever asked for your presence. Sometimes the most powerful return is the one that happens in the middle of your mess, the one where nothing looks holy but your heart is saying, I'm ready. That's when love rushes in. That's when restoration begins. Not in the loud, not in the crowd, but in the quiet, honest, vulnerable space where your heart opens again and says, I still believe, I still want this, I still choose love. There is a difference between being busy with spiritual things and being deeply connected in love. Activity is not always intimacy. You can fill your calendar with all the right duties, serving, attending, reading, quoting, and still feel distant. You can be surrounded by godly routines but miss the rhythm of actual relationship. Love, real love, doesn't hide in productivity. It's felt in presence. It's seen in posture. It shows up not just in what you do, but in how your heart responds when everything else fades away. We've learned how to perform before we've learned how to rest. We've mastered how to appear consistent before we've asked ourselves if we're truly connected. And if you're not careful, your spiritual discipline can become a disguise, a way to convince yourself that love is still alive when really you've just learned how to function without fire. You've become good at the structure but numb to the sound, and deep down you know something's off. Love was never meant to be reduced to duty. Duty has its place, but when it replaces delight, the heart suffers. You weren't created to just check boxes. You were created to commune, to feel, to respond, to be moved, and yes, there will be dry seasons. Yes, there will be moments when faith is quiet and routine is all you have. But even in those moments, love doesn't disappear, it just waits to be rediscovered. Busyness can distract you from asking the deeper questions, the ones that make you pause, the ones that push you past performance and into truth. Am I still in love? Am I still moved by the same things? When was the last time I felt wonder? It's not enough to just go through the motions. Love was never meant to live in a script. It was meant to dance in surrender, to breathe, to pulse, to awaken something real in you. We all go through seasons where we confuse momentum with meaning, where we mistake action for affection. But the question is, when the room is empty, when the music stops, when no one's watching, what does your heart still say? Because that's where love is found, not just in public faithfulness, but in private fire, not just in routine, but in reverence. When your heart says, even if I'm the only one still pressing in, I'm going to stay here, that's the sound of love unshaken by appearances. And the truth is, slowing down can be one of the most spiritual things you do. Stillness can speak louder than your schedule, because in stillness you're reminded of what matters. You're reminded of the reason you started this journey in the first place. It wasn't to be seen, it wasn't to be busy, it was to be loved, and to love in return. So it's okay to pause, it's okay to reevaluate, it's okay to admit that somewhere along the way, activity took over and affection took a back seat. But now that you see it, you can shift, you can return, you can say, I don't just want to look like I'm in love. I want to be in love again, for real, because at the end of the day, it's not your performance that will sustain you, it's your passion. It's not your schedule that will heal you, it's your surrender. You don't have to earn your way back to that place. You just have to recognize that love is still waiting, quiet, patient, unmoved by how far you've wandered or how long you've been gone. It just wants you back, not busy, not perfect, just real, just willing, just present. So many of us have been walking with hearts that remember the fire but no longer feel its heat. We've been holding on to echoes instead of encountering presence. But now is the moment to pause, to ask ourselves not if we look faithful, not if we sound committed, but if we still love like we did before. If our hearts still burn, still break, still believe. Love that lasts is love that returns, that remembers, that chooses again, not because it's easy, but because it's real. This journey is not about perfection or pretending. It's about posture, about heart, about intimacy that can't be measured by works, but only by willingness. Willingness to be honest, willingness to slow down, willingness to come back again and again until our hearts beat in rhythm with the one who first awakened them. It's about choosing purity over performance, choosing presence over pressure, choosing wonder over weariness. The beautiful truth is, it's not too late. You can return, you can rekindle, you can fall in love all over again. Not with what you do, but with the reason you do it. Let the distractions fall. Let the disappointments breathe. Let the discipline lead you back to delight, because that's what love wants. Not just your hands, but your heart. Not just your effort, but your essence. Not just your words, but your wonder. So ask yourself, not for shame, but for awakening asterisk, is your love as before? Asterisk, if not, now is the time to surrender again, to seek again, to feel again, to love again, and may your heart burn. Not for what you've lost, but for what you're about to find again.